Reusable experimental spacecraft. The Chinese reusable experimental spacecraft, Pinyin, Kechongfashiyang Shiyan Hangtianqi, literal translation, reusable experimental spacecraft, is the first reusable spacecraft produced by China. It embarked upon its initial orbital mission on September 4, 2020. According to media reports, the spacecraft is launched into Earth orbit in a vertical configuration while enclosed within the payload fairings of a rocket like a traditional satellite, but it returns to Earth via autonomous runway landing. In the absence of any official descriptions of the spacecraft or photographic depictions thereof, some observers have speculated that the spacecraft may resemble the X-37B spaceplane of the United States in both form and function. The state-owned Xinhua news agency reported in 2017 that China planned to launch a reusable spacecraft in 2020 designed to fly into the sky like an aircraft. The spacecraft's first mission began on September 4, 2020 at 7:30 Coordinated Universal Time when it was launched into low Earth orbit via a Long March 2 FT-3, LM-2 FT-3, carrier rocket. The launch occurred at China's Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, JSLC, located in the Gobi Desert. According to the Xinhua news agency, after a period of in-orbit operation, the spacecraft will return to the scheduled landing site in China. It will test reusable technologies during its flight, providing technological support for the peaceful use of space. For launching payloads like the spaceplane, the Long March 2FG, LM-2FG, needs 4 cusps added to its fairing to accommodate the payload, as seen post-launch, which led to speculation that the spacecraft resembles the U.S. Boeing X-37B. Unofficial reports indicate that the spacecraft is part of the Shenlong spaceplane, which is claimed to be similar to the Boeing X-37B. On September 6, 2020, 2 days after the launch, the spacecraft successfully returned to the Earth. According to observers Marco Langbroek and Jonathan McDowell, the spacecraft's landing site was an airbase located at Lop Nur, China. On September 7, 2020, commercial satellite reconnaissance company Planet Labs published a satellite photo of a 5-kilometer, 3.1-mile, runway at Lop Nur, taken shortly after the landing of the spaceplane. Astronomer Jonathan Christopher McDowell of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics speculated that one of the dots visible on the image of the runway was the Chinese spaceplane. On September 8, 2020, Spaceflight Now reported that United States analysts had detected the launch on September 4, 2020 at 7:30 Coordinated Universal Time and that the craft's orbital axes were 332 by 348 kilometers, 206 by 216 miles, and inclined by 50.2 degrees with respect to the equator. On August 4, 2022 at around 1600 hours Coordinated Universal Time, the spacecraft was launched for a second time, again on top of a Long March 2F, LM-2F, rocket. The spacecraft was observed to have raised its orbit on August 25, 2022 to a near-circular 597 by 608 kilometers, 371 by 378 miles, orbit. While aloft it deployed at least one object that may have been a small satellite or monitoring craft. On May 8, 2023, the spacecraft returned to Earth after 276 days in orbit. On December 14, 2023 at around 14:12 Coordinated Universal Time, the spacecraft was launched for a third time, again on top of a Long March 2F rocket. It has released at least 7 objects into orbit. On September 6, 2024, 1:10 Coordinated Universal Time, the spacecraft returned to Earth after 266 days and 10 hours in orbit. The spaceplane was photographed in orbit, from the ground, by an amateur space photographer. As of 2023, there is no information in the Western media regarding the total number of spacecrafts which may have been built or in operation. The only information available about the program is the photos taken from the ground by an amateur in late July 2024, revealing structures similar to solar panels or antennas. The payload fairings used, having been photographed after their fall to the ground, showed extensions that could house wings and help constrain the size and wingspan of the craft. In November 2024, a new photograph of a spacecraft appeared on a presentation slide during a Space Forum event in Korea. the speaker is a colonel from the U.S. Space Forces, Korea, Spacecraft. The subject looks different from the American X-37B, hence it is speculated to be the Chinese spacecraft. The image is believed to be taken by a Maxar Technologies satellite, as the company logo is seen at the corner of the photo. Without a clear link being established between these two projects, in 2020, Chen Hongbao, of China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, CASC, the main contractor for China's space agency, said during a 2017 interview that China's spaceplane would be able to be reused up to 20 times. Chen said the vehicle's first stage would use a scramjet engine. When asked to speculate on the spaceplane's role, Brian Whedon, Director of Program Planning for the Secure World Foundation, said, "It's a great question. We're not even really sure why the U.S. military is pursuing a spaceplane." Jonathan McDowell speculated that the very high speeds the spaceplane underwent during re-entry might help the Chinese in their development of hypersonic missiles. He added the Chinese may have thought, if the Americans have one of those, there's got to be a good reason for it, so we better get one too.